Yeah, the Riverside Goblins hate me, apparently.
Meantime, good morning, everybody. We're
Yeah.
still
I
teching out
am
over
having
here.
I am having trouble with my internet, probably because I'm at OSR. So if I disappear, you know why.
Okay.
Aliens.
I'm trying
Wait.
to figure out why it's going in and out because you guys are keep freezing up on me.
Well, we have with us today Mike Ricksecker. And if you've been to OSR for ParisTalkCon, you've probably seen him, met him, probably bought one of his many interesting books. I have two or three. I could find two last night. And I'm like, I know there's a third one laying around in this somewhere. Um, but Mike, you're
Dowsing
here
rod.
talking with us about one of your books and an upcoming talk you're going to do at Goddess Silly, Portals to the Stars. So, what spaces on Earth, or places, I should say, create portals to other dimensions, other places?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Portals to the Stars dives into all that. It dives into the nature of portals, Stargates. I just particularly get into Stargates of ancient Egypt because I've done a lot of work out there, run the tours out there. And then I also have a segment on Atlantis and how I believe that the Atlanteans were using these portals and creating Stargates and all of that. So, yeah, there are places here on Earth, and even NASA over 10 years ago had found outside the planet. They admitted, yes, we have portals. We call them X points. They keep changing the name because they don't want to call them portals. And now they're like, well, X points that sounds too mystical as well. So now we're going to call them like electron diffusion regions or something to that effect.
Sounds like government. We don't like it. We'll change the name.
Exactly, exactly. But yeah, those portals that are there outside the planet, it's basically an interaction between the uh, the solar wind and the Earth's magnetosphere. And they're opening up these portals out in space that allow the electrons to come from the sun much quicker than normal, and then we end up with these glorious auroras and things like this. There's no predictive model for these portals. They've sent up satellites years ago to study these things, and they just open at random. They open at different sizes. They just close whenever they close. There's no predictive model for it. But here's the thing: is that uh, the solar wind and the Earth's magnetism interact with each other all the way down to the surface of the Earth, and then of course into the water for quite a ways as well. So, and when we talk about the Earth's magnetism, you know, this is this is something that's very important to us. For one, does protect us from the sun, but also as you have to keep in mind, it's a molten ball of iron that's spinning around and around and around and creating that magnetism. And as it's rising through the Earth's mantle and crust, it's interacting with different metals and minerals. And depending on the type of metal or mineral and the quantity of it, it creates these different localized electromagnetic fields. And so that's where we end up with like these triangle areas, like the Alaska Triangle, the Bermuda Triangle, and all these others. Or this is where the ancients would build their sites of power, like the pyramids and stone circles and things like this. And they were harnessing that energy. So, yeah, that's really the origin of where we have these portals on Earth.
I think I've read in one of the beginning chapters here, and I think you've mentioned it somewhere else as well, that the video or the document about NASA admitting to these, like,
Yeah.
is now missing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was kind of it was kind of interesting because I was speaking at the MUFON International Symposium last year, and a colleague of mine, Jason Quitt, he and I really spoke on very similar topics regarding the interdimensional nature of the universe. And we both used the same slide from NASA that had been on their website years ago, talking about the X points. And after his presentation was right after mine, and then we found each other after that. And he said, Mike, NASA took down that article that has that slide on them. Really? So I went to their website, looking around. It's not there. So, excuse me. So into the internet web archive, and I was able to find it. So fortunately, the internet gods have preserved it somewhere where they do actually call it portals, but NASA took it down from their site.
Hmm.
So they're trying to hide it.
I mean, it's that perfect saying, like, once it's on the internet, it's never truly gone.
Right.
Mhm.
It's
Gonna live somewhere.
Now, I was going through Archive of the Connected Universe, but you have a book called Portals to the Stars. And
Fell back way too far. Yeah, Portals to the Stars. There we go.
yeah, and I mean, you put a lot of information in all of your books. And I will say I haven't had a chance to poke around to portals yet, that
Mhm,
hopefully soon. But in poking in through this, I love how I was able to kind of skip around, gather information, not be
mhm.
completely lost. And I love how when you're writing these, like, I don't feel like you're talking down to me. I'm not an idiot trying to keep up with you. Like, it is written very well and explained very well. Um,
Well,
and
thank
I
you.
want to say it, you cross reference back and forth into the books.
Mhm.
So, what would be the main difference between the archive and the portals to the stars?
Yeah, the archive is a lot of extra information that I've put together over the years. Those that have been reading my blog will find that, okay, a lot of these are the blog articles. Um, but I preface it with new information that I've come across over the years and kind of explain, okay, this is where this research was going. So it's really a companion piece for the other books. And I appreciate that you said that about the way that I write, because that's something that I try to make sure to do is I don't wanna talk down to people. I want people to be able to understand what it is that I'm talking about. I've actually had somebody, make a comment, and it's rare that this ever happens, but, he thought I wasn't, talking, I guess, high enough. He's like, "I want it to be, ultra science-y." It's like, "Well, that might work for you, but, I'm trying to make this understandable for the general public, and it's not just like a very small elite class that should have this information. It should be everybody. So I do things to make sure to like I'll include a lot of pop culture references and things like that. So okay, here's the concept, but you saw it maybe in this film or read it in this book or something like that. So if you don't understand really like the concept that I'm trying to describe, you can at least relate to the way it was portrayed in a particular film or something like that. So um, it actually goes back to when I first got out of the Air Force. Worked for it was a library servicing company, and basically what we did is we staffed libraries and we did a lot of the technical work for them and things like that. We had a contract with the Department of Energy, and the librarians that were there, they were not tech savvy at all. We're talking late 90s, and if you kind of didn't grow up with technology around you, kind of that older generation was it was interesting because they were scared to touch technology. So when I would go there to help them out with their tech, I learned how to try to talk to these people that did not have a technical background, these different technical concepts. So I think that's kind of helped with writing these types of books.
I need that.
Hopefully, Kayla, if you're able to come into Paris SciCon 2027, Mike is always there. He always gives at
Yeah,
least one talk, and you can snag all his books, and he'll autograph them for you too. So,
yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate that Greg and Kathy are absolutely amazing, and they keep inviting me back. So I really do appreciate that.
I will do
Oh,
my
well,
best
of
for next year.
course. We absolutely love you, Mike. Of course you'd be coming back as long as you want to come back.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Paris SciCon really is like the best run event out there. It's absolutely fantastic. I've been doing these events for years and years and years, and Paris SciCon is absolutely one of my favorites and so well run. It's amazing.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
all right, everybody. I am checking multiple tabs, looking for questions and comments. I'll read them off if I can't get them on screen, because they're not popping up over here for me, but I will read them out for you. So if you have any questions for Mike, please feel free to ask and we'll get them answered. But, Kayla, since you're the newbie to Mike, do you have any questions for him?
I want to know everything.
Okay. Here, we'll just plug the
I'm
computer in
just
my
like,
brain and download, and there we go.
yeah, thank you. I would appreciate that. It's just not telepathically. That's good. No, I'm just like, I want to hear it all. So I don't have any specific questions right now because I'm like, ooh, this is so fascinating. So like, we haven't met each other, so I'm like, just like I'm sitting here, like I feel like I'm getting like RBF because I'm just like, just like tuning into everything.
Well, maybe because I know, Mike, in the archive of the Connected Universe, you talked about like the Stargates and those
Yeah.
being in
Yeah.
Egypt. So, like, what would be the difference between a Stargate and then a portal?
Yeah, that's a great question. So a portal is naturally occurring in nature, kind of like what I described there with the X points, and then of course with these kind of power centers on Earth with the magnetism and different metals and minerals and those sorts of things. So those randomly spawn up in different places. With a Stargate, that would be the ability for an intelligent being. And notice I said intelligent being, not necessarily human, could be extraterrestrials or ultra terrestrials, something interdimensional also here on Earth. The ability for that intelligent being to harness that portal and be able to use it at their will. So to be able to go to specific locations, specific points, whether it's in the universe, on the planets, other dimensions, other points in time, they would have the ability to do what they want with that particular portal. So to me, that's the difference between a portal and a Stargate.
I think you, no, I know. One of the chapters that I was looking and reading through in here talking about um, openings in nature. And I chuckled to
Mhm.
myself because you brought up maybe Bigfoot is going in and out, and that's where
Yeah.
these missing people are going. And when I first kind of saw this theory a few weeks, maybe a month or so back, somebody had laid out like the map of missing people in national parks and
Yeah.
then like the Bigfoot sightings. And they're like, coincidence? I think not. And then like it's here. And, and it got me thinking about, other places. And it seemed like you're me, I don't want to say on the fence, but you haven't quite committed, or are you kind of like, yeah, that's where all those missing hikers are going. That's where those Canadians are going.
Well, I mean, I think it's mixed. And David Paulides has done a lot of work on this with Missing 411. But and I started really looking into this when I was on the show, The Alaska Triangle, and then wrote the book, Alaska's Mysterious Triangle, because Alaska has more than double the national rate of missing people. Now, some of those people, yes, they get lost in the woods or they get eaten by a bear or something like that. Yes, that does happen. But the number is so astronomically high that something has to be going on here. And the state of Alaska has opened a missing persons clearinghouse because their rate is so high. And you do have stories of people that actually do come back where they said, "Yeah, I heard a noise off on the side of the path that I was hiking on. Took 2 steps to go check it out, see what it was, couldn't find the source of the noise, turned around to get back on the trail, and the trail's gone." They only took 2 steps. Where did the trail go? So, did they step into some sort of portal that, took them maybe to another part of the forest or to another point in time? We don't know. Yeah, it is a bit speculative, but I think we have enough of these sorts of stories to say, yeah, I think there is something to this.
Mm.
Right. Yeah. And listening to you say that and everything, I find that really intriguing, the stories, it's not just one person. It's a variety of people that are
Mhm.
saying this, right, Mike? It's just not
Yeah,
one report.
yeah, it's
So,
it's a it's a yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, with more than one report and everything, there has to be something to it, just like you said. But my
Mhm.
curiosity is, okay, they turned and the path was gone. Maybe they were in this portal for a while. What else did they see? Have they
Right.
ever reported that, or
Well, you
is that
do have Yeah, you do have some stories. I mean, we can even go back to the old, fairy legends like Rhys and Llewellyn out of Wales, where Rhys heard the singing and he's like, I'm gonna go check out the singing in the woods. And you Llewellyn, go back. you go back home. They were working for a farmer, and they went back, and they're like, "Where's Reese?" It's like, "Well, he was supposed to be following right behind me. He was just checking out some singing in the woods." Never came back. So Llewellyn was accused of murder. He's like, "No, no, no, really, I left him over here. Let's go check out." And they checked out the site, and finally they could hear the singing. Walked over to where they could hear the singing from, stepped into it, and here's Reese, and he's dancing around with the little people, and he thought he had only been gone 5 minutes, and they're like, "No, you've been gone almost a day."
Wow.
So those sorts of stories are interesting. One of the Alaska stories is kind of similar, in which there was a little boy that some hunters came across, and he was standing. He had just they'd been in the area, and he just kind of appeared there, and there were no tracks in the snow. He was just there. He is, and he had this fat. And this was reported in the Anchorage Daily News in the paper up there that um, that his story was he had been taken inside of Pilcher Mountain, where there are the urchin hut. These are like a forum of little people, and he had met a little girl there where, according to her, she had been inside the mountain for 40 years, but she was still in the form of a little girl. So time and space worked very differently in there. Then, for whatever reason, they decided to let the boy go, and poof, he ended up, out in this field outside Pilcher Mountain. And again, no tracks in the snow, so it was like he just appeared there. You have the story of Michael LeMaitre up there, the Mount Marathon race in Seward, where it's a very public race. They have different checkpoints along the way. You run up the mountain, you run back down the mountain, and he made it to the checkpoint at the top of the mountain, but coming back down, he never reappeared. Very public race. They had the dogs out there, they had the state troopers out there, thinking that maybe he fell into a crevasse or something, but gone. Very public race, and completely disappeared. So we don't know where he went, but yeah, it's just some of these stories are really, really fascinating.
I've had a couple of clients from Alaska that have had so not the exact same thing, but they're aware of these stories, right? These experiences. But I had an elderly lady who everybody kept accusing of having these mental issues, and it has to be medications and everything. And she would like literally disappear from her apartment. So this started happening when she was a teenager. She went similar thing, went hiking, kind of lost time, all this stuff. Everybody thought she was gone. Then they accused her of just like running away. It was like a whole ordeal, right? But I'm working with her. Well, was working with her, and she was in her like late 70s, early 80s. And she would wake up outside of her apartment all the time. And they're just like, she's got to be on meds. She's got to be on sleeping meds. And she's like, I don't know what happens. I know I go to bed and I wake up out here, and I don't like, she at one point had been locking herself inside of her apartment, which her kids were upset about, because if there's a fire, you can't get out. Nobody can get to you. There's this whole thing.
Yeah.
And that's why her son ended up reaching out to me. But she's like, no, I don't go anywhere. This has been happening since I was a teenager. I went and did this, and like, I can go travel to other places, but I still wake up other places. Like, even if I leave home, even if I leave my home area, and then, as she got older, they put her into like an apartment area instead of her regular house that she lived in. The same thing kept happening. And that's literally what, like, she just held on to this. And she's just one of the people that was more susceptible to being able to transport through these things. And it stuck with her whole life. And people don't want to believe her. Her family kind of gets it, but they don't know how to help her. But now they're trying, well, they were, I believe she passed away, if I'm not mistaken. But she, I'm of age, not from the thing, from her travels. But all this time, people kept telling her she was crazy and trying to put her on psych meds. She's like, no, you don't understand. Like, I go do normal things. I just happen to disappear, and I just reappear places, and like you're talking about. But there's been a few people in Alaska that reached out after that, because they're like, I've had similar experiences. I've gone, people that live there, that is, not like, if we went somewhere, it would be understandable to kind of get lost or disoriented, that kind of thing. But these are people that grew up in these areas, and then things change, and or they happen to step the wrong way and don't come back for a while. So it's definitely interesting to hear your side of it, because I've only ever had the client side and not like all the scientific part to it. So.
Well, and that's interesting too, because if, you've got astral projection. So is that astral projection, or is that something that's alien related, or both?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, the astral projection, I mean, usually your body doesn't physically move.
Right.
Usually you're still sitting or lying down wherever you are at.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I mean, there might be a component to that that we don't understand. With the like the alien abduction scenario, I believe they're being taken into another dimension. That the kind of quote unquote mothership is really that other dimension somewhere. It makes a lot more sense to me because time is working much differently, and so and I like looking at some of the more modern accounts because when I started off with Reese and Llewellyn, and it's it's an older story that's over 150 years ago. And people are like, well, it's fairy legends and all that. Well, it's, okay, look at some of these more modern accounts, like the one in Pilcher Mountain. It was 2006. Michael Lemater was 2012. You had the guy. It was a few decades ago. God, I forget his name, but he was out there when I think it was Lake Michigan that was frozen over, and he went missing out there. They thought he had died. They like had a funeral service and all this for him, and he shows up like a year later or whatever it was in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. Has no memory whatsoever of what happened. It was like I was just out here on the ice and enjoying the winter weather, and now I ended up out here in Massachusetts. What in the world? So some of those stories are really really fascinating.
I feel like nobody would pick there, to be honest, to be like, I'm just gonna teleport myself somewhere. It probably wouldn't be Massachusetts. No offense, Massachusetts, just saying.
Well, we had have a question from YouTube from Robert. It says, even at the speed of light, it takes forever to get anywhere, even with our own galaxy. Is a stargate like a wormhole or temporary folding of energy manipulation of space time?
Well, that would be one of the uses of stargates. I mean, that's kind of like the classical interpretation is the ability, given the Einstein-Rosen bridge, using Einstein's theory of relativity, you have two distant points in space that we can't as humans get to because we just don't have the resources using our current Newtonian physics. You look at Voyager 1 out there, it is this November going to reach 1 light day away from Earth. It took 50 years. So yeah, to get to like the Andromeda galaxy, we would die. I mean, we just wouldn't make it. So yeah, the idea of taking those two distant points, bringing them closer together, if you could uh, bend space and time and fold it over like that, and that's a trick. How do you fold it over? And then those 2 points would be closer, and you would connect them with a bridge or a wormhole. And they've been working on this in the lab. Actually, back in 2022, they connected and the quantum level to small black holes with a wormhole and passed a message through. So something they've been working on in the lab as far as that. But yeah, I believe that this is something that they maybe had in ancient times. You see, especially in ancient Egypt, a lot of depictions of traversing the stars. You have actual Stargate chambers, and they're labeled straight up Stargate. So I believe this is something that they had, but um, yeah, that's kind of the classic interpretation is, some sort of wormhole to traverse the cosmos, but you could also just travel somewhere else here on the planet to another dimension, another point in time. You could just use a Stargate for communication. You don't necessarily have to step through it, but you can just communicate through it. Kind of like what they did in the lab with the scientists, and they passed a message from one side to the other.
Now, I know you were recently down in Arizona, and I was
Mhm.
jealous that you were there, and I love that state. And you didn't offer to shove me in a suitcase.
Well,
It doesn't need much oxygen.
yeah, yeah, my
I hold my
we got a little
breath.
cramped in there.
Um,
Melissa, that would
there's,
be the time the airlines would lose his luggage.
you're right. I would end up somewhere cold,
That's why he
completely
didn't do it. He didn't
Mhm.
want to lose
Get up
you.
in Alaska, getting into the middle of nowhere.
This is where I have to meet the aliens. Fine, I'll go to the cold. But there's been numerous sightings, records that in Arizona, especially around the Tucson area, of a lot of like aliens, and then you have Sedona. Are there fun like little portal stories or any like Stargate-ish in that area? Because I have yet to see or experience anything of the sort. And Kayla is down there. She's like, "What do you mean you don't see them?" And I'm like, "Oh, I mean, I look for them when I'm looking at the mountains, but
Right.
I've never gotten to see anything cool down there."
That's one one thing I wish I could change. I wish I could like project the things that I see so that other people can see them, because it's really hard to explain or like point out. I don't know. It's like, look at that tree over there, and there's like 50 trees. It's like, okay, sorry, but I wish I could just like project my things.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like everybody's a little bit different. We all each have our own personal resonance. The human body resonates, and we're anywhere between 9 to 16 hertz, and everybody's a little different. And of course, if there is a being or some sort of entity in front of you, they're resonating at a different frequency. We had a fascinating encounter. It was at the old Mineral Springs Hotel, Alton, Illinois. I had done some small events out of there, some small little paracons when I lived in Illinois for a couple of years. And at the very end of the final investigation, we're in the old abandoned section, the upstairs hall, and there were 5 of us that saw this little girl up there, this little girl apparition, and we all saw her a little bit differently. Like I saw her fully formed from her head down to about her knees, and she dissipated away. Others saw her fully formed at the feet and kind of on upward, dissipated at the head, and that just kind of adheres to the fact that we are all a little bit different in that regards, and that's why some people see more shadows and apparitions, or more apparitions and shadows. Maybe see aliens better, or might see like auras around people and things like that. So all that kind of plays into it. But as far as Arizona, yeah, because you had the Phoenix Lights back in the '90s, which was an incredible sighting by tens of thousands of people. Really magnificent events. Yes, Sedona is supposed to be a high vortex area, and you can go online and find maps that say this is a vortex area, portals over here, and all this sort of thing. But if you talk to the locals, they'll say no, the whole area is a vortex. And the one time that I was there, I was hiking the path around the airport, and there was a Native American guy that was leading a small group, and he took them to this tree that was all twisted and everything. And he's like, here's the power of the vortex, right here. And he's like, now look, that doesn't mean that that there's a small vortex right here in this area at the tree. The vortex is the entire area. And again, my personal opinion is it goes back into the rock structure that's there under the ground that's making all of this happen. But yeah, you get all kinds of people reporting UFO sightings, extraterrestrials, having experiences like astral projections and things like that in these areas. So yeah, it's incredible state, and I love going there.
I'd like to go back. Hint, hint, Melissa.
It's one of my favorite places. Part of my old lady goals is to become the snowbird that I used to hate when I was a borders manager, when half my staff would take off on me. And I'm like, oh, really, guys? Now I'm like, yeah, now I'm one of you. I get it now.
I've learned.
Yeah, like I have come to your wisdom, and I bow that you knew better at that time. I'm older now. I feel it. A question from YouTube is like, why do they call them wormholes? And this is a little bit back to when you were talking about that dimensional travel there.
Yeah, I mean, they call it wormholes just because of what conceivably it would look like, some sort of tunnel connecting the two locations. The thing that I like to point out about this is, okay, it might be a tunnel that ends up connecting, but the ends of those tunnels, we usually show that as like a circle on either end. And again, relating it back to films, Interstellar, and they had Kip Thorne, a renowned physicist, consult on this film. Their conception of what that would look like. A circle is a shape in two-dimensional space. So a circle in three-dimensional space would be a sphere. So the ends of those wormholes would actually be spheres rather than circles. But yeah, I mean, they just call it wormhole. I mean, honestly, when they first devised this term, it was the Einstein-Rosen bridge. So that's what Einstein and Nathan Rosen called it, was a bridge. So over time, as different depictions of this have been drawn and illustrated, people just said, well, it kind of looks like a wormhole. So that's where the nomenclature came from.
And I know in some of the representations or drawings, graphics from
Mhm.
way back when, it would almost look like, a tube,
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
so
Yeah, I mean, the film Stargate uses that, Contact, Star Wars does, yeah, that's kind of the common representation of it.
So I do frankly have a question because this is your Arizona comment about me seeing
Mhm.
things.
Yeah,
So last year we had an unusual amount of northern lights encounters, right? Like pretty
yeah.
much across the whole North America. Those, so I also kind of do photography, total amateur.
oh,
And
did we
right in the
lose
middle
her?
of her question.
Oh,
Mm.
right? Well, they
"We
came and
finally have
got
a
her.
question." Done.
And here, I thought it was me.
I know,
Than
I'm
any
like,
other
"Did I
time in my
just"
life, really. So I found that very interesting. So is it like a barrier being placed between Earth and whatever else is going on in other galaxies, universes, whatnot? And like it was just like it was kind of a. I honestly, not gonna lie, enjoyed the peace and quiet because it's not normal for me. I'm always hearing something somewhere going on. But I had more.
Oh, now she's just totally gone. Okay.
Now
Yeah,
she's
there's
gone.
there's the barrier.
She fell
There's
into
her
one of
nearly
those
in France
portals.
going, "Don't ask that."
See, and I think a lot of times it has to do with the energy, the energy surrounding a person. I used to work with this woman when I was at NSA for a couple of years, and she had some sort of crazy energy about her where she was always like shocking people or she would shock her computer. There's this one time she was pointing at something on her monitor screen just to say, hey, this is, whatever was going on. And there was like a little electric bolt that shot out of her finger, hit the monitor, and rebooted the entire computer. Bizarre.
That's so what's funny is, Mike, I don't know if you've ever gotten to meet Marianne Winkowski,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
she kills
I,
electronics. Welcome
Mhm.
back.
There she
And
is.
it completely what it said. Riverside can no longer connect. Would you like to communicate with technical support? I was like, no, I was talking. I don't know what happened. And then all the screens just closed. Here I am. I don't know if you guys can still see me or not. I have no.
We can see you.
Yeah.
Okay. Could you see me when the thing went out, or was it?
No.
Oh, okay. No, it just
well,
totally like the screen went black. It was still the Riverside thing, like the little logo was up there, and it just went black, and it just said, like, "Would you like to contact tech support? We can no longer connect."
well,
And then it
what's
closed
funny
out all my other
is
windows.
that's happening with you, and now suddenly my comments from other places are finally showing up. So
Want me to go? Can you just email me the answer to my experiences? Because I'm like fascinated about it. Like that just totally like reminded me of that whole experience, but well, experiences. And then I got booted from the tech world.
So Robert says this discussion makes me wonder if
Mhm.
the universe itself may be artificial or some form of intelligent design.
Intelligent design, yeah. As far as the idea of and as far as the idea of the universe being a simulation, that's what I do believe that, but I don't believe it's a computer simulation. And this is where I differ with some of my colleagues that subscribe to the simulated universe idea. Is they're like, oh, it's a computer simulation. Well, yeah, you might relate it to a computer simulation because that's like the highest form of our technology these days. And of course, films like The Matrix, kind of like really drill that into us. And it's a fantastic concept. So, I do believe, yes, simulation, but I think it's more organic or biological or technology that we just can't conceive yet that it is. But, you just look at our world religions, and really they talk about simulation, just not using that term, like the idea of reincarnation. We come from some sort of homeworld, we come down here, live out a life, learn some lessons along the way, pass away, we go back home, hang out for a little while, come back down, learn so it's the idea of logging into a computer program, flight simulator, you could say, or the Sims or something like that. That idea of logging into something, hanging out there for a while, learning some lessons or progressing to some degree, and then logging back out. So it's that same concept there.
Well,
Um, Even Christianity talks about we're in this world preparing for the next world. So they our world religions do talk about it, just not using that term simulation. So I believe it's a real tangible thing that, yeah, there's some sort of intelligent design to all of this. There's a much bigger scope to all of this that we don't quite understand, and that's part of our journey here. Is we're trying to understand these things.
Sounds like a holodeck from Star Trek.
Yeah, there you go.
Um, well, now that I can see all the comments and I'm not switching back and forth, guys, if you have questions and comments, please feel free to ask. I can see them easier now. We have Mike Ricksecker with us about portals to the stars, and you probably recognized Mike not only for Parapsychon, but Mike, you've been on the Alaskan Triangle. I think some older episodes of what is it, Mike Ghost Story or My Haunted Story?
Yeah, yeah. I was on the first couple television shows, The Haunted, My Ghost Story. And then, yeah, there was the Alaska Triangle. I've been on several episodes of Ancient Aliens. Just did some more filming for The Unexplained with William Shatner and a few other television shows. So yeah, been around a
Does,
little bit.
does Shatner ever just randomly say Danny Crane?
We didn't film with Shatner. Here's the thing.
Oh,
He films on a completely different set, and they take us out to some different locations. Like several times I've filmed out in California and Pasadena at this old historic mansion. This last time was in Rochester, New York.
That's my
Again at
name.
a nice historic mansion. So they give us some nice spots to film in, but yeah, Bill is never there.
Darn.
oh,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah, same thing with The Unbelievable with Dan Aykroyd. Dan's never there either, so
aw,
Mhm.
that's kind of disappointing.
Well, next time
yeah.
you're in Rochester, maybe I can hunt you down because that's not far from me. I'm in Lockport,
Oh,
so
okay, very
not
cool,
too
very
far.
cool.
So maybe
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
send
was the
you
first
price
time I
tag.
ever filmed in Rochester. It's a beautiful town. I love the historic area down there. Just walked around, checking out all the old houses and everything. It's very cool.
Yeah, because I was kind of going through, stalking through your social media to make sure we, mention everything. And on your website, mikericksecker.com, and went over to appearances. And I scrolled down and I'm like, God, hey, look at young baby Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, The Haunted, that aired 2011. We filmed in 2010 for that, so yeah, that's like 16 years ago. I
Time
was still in my
flies.
30s back then.
For something
Yeah.
that doesn't exist, it sure flies by very quickly.
This is true, this is true. Yeah, time does not exist, but does fly by. Yeah.
Yes, it
The whole
does.
theory of relativity, right? Because we're close to it. And because I was reading something, even it's like as we get older, time flies by faster for you.
And
And
that's I
it's
believe that's perception because you think about when you're 10 years old, 1 year is 10% of your entire life, and that's a big chunk. You get to be well, I'm in my 50s now. It's like, oh, now it's 2% of, 1 year is 2% of my life. So, it's kind of that perception, I believe. It
Mhm.
seems to be getting
right.
quicker. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it kind of goes along with the line, you really can't measure time. I mean, yes, we do measure time, but I can be super busy in an hour and it flies by.
Mhm.
But if I'm stagnant and I don't have anything going, it seems like it's forever. It's
Right.
perception. It's perception of the time.
It is. Yeah. Yeah, time is just it's a human construct. It helps us to one describe a reality. It also helps us to do things like plant the crops at the right time. Show up to work
Mhm.
at the right moments, so our bosses don't get upset. But yeah, my work in Travels Through Time, which is the first book in the Connecting the Universe series, I get into what I call stacked time theory, and that idea that time doesn't really exist; it's all here concurrent with us. It's the fourth dimension; it's where our consciousness resides. So, our theoretical physics shows us that we have up to 11 hyperspatial dimensions, 0 through 10. We have access to all the ones before us. The 0 point, one a line, two a plane, three, three-dimensional object. Our consciousness in the dimension that we call time is here, which is interesting because it makes us multidimensional beings. Our fourth dimensional consciousness is inside of our third dimensional body. So when the body passes, our consciousness goes, and that's the big question: where does it go? But you have these other dimensions, 5, 6, 7, 8, and onward. So those dimensions there would see time as we see a three-dimensional object, so they would have the ability to move in and about any point in time. And so those type of discussions just absolutely fascinate me.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Well, you have podcast and you also film that live, kind of like what we do,
Mhm. Yeah.
Connecting the Universe. And you go over really interesting, topics. So one of the last ones I got to see, and it was purely by accident. I was supposed to be doing something for work and opened Facebook, and there you and Dustin Perry were.
Yeah.
And and that was
That's an
very
awesome
interesting.
sign.
I didn't realize that how many scientists are going missing that
Right.
are connected in with the whole alien and maybe portals, or mostly just aliens that, are they going missing about that, the
Well,
portals?
yeah, I mean these scientists. I mean they're researching a number of different topics that happen to be related to the extraterrestrial question and UFO research and all that. You had some of these scientists working on things like anti gravity and that sort of thing, which a lot of people believe we are back engineering from crash material that we've acquired from some of these UFOs. So yeah, it was really bizarre because when I had Dustin on for that particular show, they had the UFO probe that they had going looking into this had just announced that day that, oh, we're not finding any links between these cases. And it's like, well, just any regular person looking on the surface can tell, there are some links. You had, three people from Los Alamos go missing. Well, there's a link right there. Los Alamos itself is the link, or a couple people from the facility there in Huntsville, Alabama, and the one girl there it was a few years ago now, but she told friends of hers, like, look, if it ever comes out that like I've taken my own life, don't believe them. And sure enough, she ends up dying. They rule it a suicide. And, they're like, no, 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 it really was a suicide. But she specifically told people if it ever comes out like that, don't believe it. So, but no, we're just going to say that nothing to see here. Really?
Yeah.
Very, very typical government, right? Given the history that they've had. There's been some speculation that NASA's been a little more upfront coming because of how their funding status has changed.
Mhm.
Um, do you kind of feel that way? That it's like they're more willing to say more about UFOs and experiences and things going on because they're not funded so much by the government. So now they have the ability to say what they want to say.
Yeah, it would be nice if they are a little bit more forthcoming about that. We've seen here in the release of these different UFO files that, oh, there are reports from Gemini 7, Apollo 12, Apollo 17. Here's some photos of UFOs that were taken from the moon. Things that were speculated about for decades. And some of the astronauts were coming forth, like Buzz Aldrin and Edgar Mitchell, trying to say, look, there's something going on out there. And they couldn't get into too deep of specifics because they were sworn to secrecy. They had the specific classifications, which I understand being a former military member. But now that some of that is coming out, it's been a breath of fresh air, and I hope that NASA does release some more of this sort of information as we're returning to the moon and all that, and we're going to look beyond that.
As we get the side eye slightly eastward to the NASA here in the
Yeah.
Cleveland.
Right.
We did have another question from YouTube, or more like statement. Back to the tab switching because that's just Riverside today. Robert says, I'm going to speculate with different entities vibrate at different frequencies and may have access to different portals based on said frequency they operate off of.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
kind of
everything
interesting.
comes down to everything comes down to frequency, resonance, energy, and vibration. It's kind of what I was talking about before with us being able to see that apparition a little bit differently, and even when we talk about moving in and about through time, and the reason why I call it stacked time theory is I relate each moment in time to being like a photograph in a giant stack of photos, and each of those photos has its own frequency. So to move from one to the other, you're changing that frequency. Connecting to not just the frequency of the moment, but your frequency would also have to change to get there. So I believe like real time travel would have more to do with meditation and the consciousness and your own energy. And I think that was also a big part of the Stargates, because we see in ancient Egypt depictions of doing different things as you well, for one, as you walk into a temple, you're crossing over a rose granite threshold. It might be the entire gate or it might just be the floor, but you're crossing over that threshold. And as one rose granite is 55 to 60% quartz. So it's clearing your energy as you go into the temple. So you come into the temple with fresh energies and you're like reborn going into the temple. But then as you go into the Stargate chambers, they're doing things like ingesting the monatomic white gold cakes, which changes your frequency again before you enter into the Stargate chambers. So there is a bit of a question. Okay, are you entering into a big energy field that they've created because you do have like pyramids powering these things and things like that, or is it sort of astral projection, or you're entering into some sort of altered state of consciousness? That part we're not quite clear about, but there is a change in frequency, absolutely.
Have they been able to like scientifically monitor or see that change in frequency?
Well, what they've done, like as far as the pyramids, and these sorts of tests haven't been done at the temples that have the Stargate chambers, but as far as like the pyramids, it was about 8 years ago. I think it was the Journal of Applied Science. There was an article there where they had done tests on the Great Pyramid of Giza. So the whole idea of it harnessing energy and being a power plant, like Christopher Dunn's idea of the Giza power plant, they actually showed that, well, yes, it is actually harnessing energy from the ground and storing it within its chambers and that sort of thing. And then a couple years ago, it was a Chinese radar. I can't remember the specific testing they were trying to do, but this radar technology was uh, discovering plasma bubbles that were forming over the Great Pyramid. So, yeah, there are definitely things going on at these locations like that.
Interesting. I would love to go to Egypt. The sun and heat would kill me.
Yeah.
I would go.
That's why we usually try to
That
go in the cooler month, because I have been there in late June and early July, and you will melt there. That was, well, we wanted to be there for the summer solstice that just happened to be at the beginning of our tour rather than at the end. But yeah, we try to go in cooler months. Yeah, I've been there in February in Cairo. It's like 40 degrees, and they're huddling up in a jacket. So it just depends on
that
the
would be
time
the
of
time
year.
for me to go.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
speaking of, you do tours over to Egypt.
Mhm. Yeah, we're going
When
back
is that?
again next March 21st through April 2nd. So we're starting on the spring equinox. And yeah, it's a 12-day tour. We get a 4-day Nile cruise in the middle of it. We show you all the temples with the Stargate chambers. We go into the pyramids. We have a 2-hour special for just our group going into the Great Pyramid of Giza. All the chambers are opened up to us because the typical public pass is you get like 10-15 minutes. You go up the Grand Gallery into the King's Chamber, back down, and that's it. But we have 2 hours just ourselves. The whole thing is opened up to us, so it's a real incredible treat. And then yeah, we see all the other pyramids like Saqqara, the pyramids there at Dashur, like the Bent Pyramid, and the Red Pyramid, and then we head south to Luxor and Karnak and the Valley of the Kings, and the beautiful temples of Dendera and Abydos, and we just hop on the boat and go down the Nile, hitting all the different temples along the way. It's incredible.
I was reading about Hatshepsut's mortuary,
Mhm.
and I'm
Yeah.
like, I would love to go in there. And I believe, and I was just checking the copyright on the book because as of 2025, you're like, I do not know what the proper bribery is to get into the Holy of Holies. I was going to be like, have you since learned what that is? And I'm like,
I
no.
have, yeah. There's a guy from Greece, Konstantinos. He was on a tour, not my tour, but a tour with some other colleagues of mine here just recently, and he got in there, and I'm like, well, okay, yeah, what did you do? Because I'm pretty sure you guys went in the middle of the day, and they were not even entertaining the fact of of letting us in there during the middle of the day. And he was like, "Well, it would have been like a couple of hundred American dollars." Like, okay.
Give-
So yeah. Yeah, I've been
I mean,
wanting to get in there. Yeah.
part of me says a couple hundred American doesn't seem. I honestly would have thought more because it's the Holy of Holies, right?
Right. Yeah.
I would have thought there would have been a comma in there, but
Well, there are other
And
holy
some
of holies we can
dancing
get
and
into,
some
but that
entertainment.
one is a little more compact, which is why I believe they're not letting people in there. Because even with I kind of make fun of it. So the bark hall, which is the transportation of the gods, that is basically where they let you kind of convene. And if you do give them a little bit of a tip, they'll take a photo down the hall for you. But there's a sign out there that says, "Dear tour guides, please, kindly please don't explain anything inside here." So I make fun of it as like, see, they don't want you to know the real information, but what it is because it is a smaller confined area, they don't want the groups kind of locking the area up. So they just allow people to go in there, take a look, and stop them at that one area.
yeah, because I want to say you even mentioned that there's signs. It's like, do not even talk about the
Yeah,
Stargate stuff once you're inside.
right,
And
right.
I'm like, how much more
Yeah, it is.
shady?
It's kind of interesting because there are places that we go to that if you start talking down that road and one of the docents overhears you, they're like, "No." It's like, what do you mean no? Like, this last time in the Great Pyramid. Now, I've talked extensively within the Great Pyramid, so has Muhammad, about different things going on inside the Great Pyramid. But this last, it kind of depends on who you get. This last time, um, the archaeologist that was there, because it's the archaeologist that opens everything up for you. He's like, "Nope, nope." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "They're recording with their phones. I don't want this getting out on the internet." You got to be kidding me. So it's like, okay, fine. I'll get my photos, get my video, and I'll create a video after the fact talking about it. But I was just trying to tell the people on the tour. So it kind of depends on who you get. Um, Sometimes you have to tip them, or whatever, and they'll be fine. But yeah, it's kind of an interesting dichotomy because there are some people there that will let you and others who won't.
Interesting. So if people are signing up and they're going to go with you on the tour, should they
Mhm.
budget into their spending money,
Bribery
bribery,
money.
tips, right?
Yes, yes, you have to budget in some bribery money. Absolutely. Well, and they do actually work a lot on tips over there. So, what we will do is there's a part of our package where we say, okay, this chunk here is for kind of general tip money for like our bus driver or at the hotels. We'll take care of the tips there and that sort of thing. But there are times where you're kind of like more in a public place, like you go to use the restroom at the museum, and they'll have attendants there handing you, trying to hand you a paper towel. Well, if you take that paper towel from you need to tip them. Give them $1. That's all you have to do is give them $1. So I usually bring a stack of ones with me, and half the time I end up giving it to the kids. You'll have all kinds of little kids running around. Here you go.
Sure, Mike. Where do you get those singles?
Let's go to the bank.
Oh, right. There's the whole Mike. So let's see, Robert, um, over on YouTube. Here we go. My stream says Egypt is known for the pyramids. Interesting that other cultures built similar structures in other parts of the world, even some inverse
Mhm.
structures. I've always found that fascinating as well.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, there's a part of our history that that we're not really not being told about. How did these different cultures across the world that were not supposed to have had connections to each other build very, very similar structures or have very, very similar symbolism or have, the same stories? Either there was a communication between these cultures that we're not being told about, or there was a older lost civilization that was an origin culture that those stories and that technology and those concepts got passed down through. So yeah, there's something there that we're not being told about.
Mhm. There's the speculation that there's a giant pyramid in Antarctica that, that's what's really going on down there.
Yeah, there's that. They've that's interesting. That's another one that's disappeared because you used to be able to find that on the Google satellite imagery, the giant pyramid that was down there, and also like these structures that looked like walls. And there's nobody's been out there. It's so remote, but it was satellite imagery, and they've removed that, of course. Then there's the Black Pyramid under Alaska that's supposed to be under Mount Denali, in that area that was supposed to be a huge power plant, of course. So yeah, you have a lot of these different stories of giant pyramids and things like this in these remote areas that nobody can get to prove it. So it makes it difficult as far as us trying to get the information out.
Um, the Black Pyramid in Alaska, is that one? Can you still find the info for that one online, or is that one kind of gone like the
Yeah,
Antarctic?
that one. So what's interesting about that? Most of the information you can find on it, I do write about it in Alaska's Mysterious Triangle, but Linda Moulton Howe's Earth Files site. So she's interviewed several people that it was. Well, right now, the surviving member is the son of this guy who supposedly went into there. You have the original report from Doug Munchler, and part of this you can find online, which is the nuclear testing that China was doing that basically sent shockwaves. This is early '90s, and we knew that they were going to be doing this underground testing. So our geologists set up seismographs to measure the shockwaves, and in those scans, they found this pyramidal shape there under the Mount Denali region in Alaska. So that's really where it first came from. And so, Mutchler was he was stationed in Alaska, really around the same time I was. He got there just before me, and it was a report that he had seen on TV. So he told people, hey, look for this report. They're going to be doing some follow ups and stuff like this. Really, really interesting. Well, there was no follow up, so he thought it was really bizarre, and nobody else had seen it. So he went down to the television station, and he's like, hey, what happened with this story? Where's the report? And they're like, we didn't run a story. We don't know what you're talking about. And as he was walking out of the facility, there was a junior aide that ran up to him and said, well, actually, just before you, there were these guys in suits that came and they confiscated the tapes. So, so you have some
No
interesting stories
surprise.
like that. Yeah.
The Men in Black, right?
The Men in Black. Yep.
Now we're getting close, real close to our hour. I know you're a very busy guy. I was surprised that you were able to come on with us so soon, and I was like, oh, we had to cancel it. I'm like, please,
Yeah.
Mike. Like, absolutely
Yeah,
not.
yeah, of course.
Um, so, Mike, we've your Egyptian tour.
Mhm.
How can they find that if they wanted to sign up for it?
Yeah, the easiest way would just be go to my website, mikericksecker.com. Go to my events and tours tab and just click on it. It's on the We Travel websites where the registration is, but probably the easiest way is just go to my website, click into that, and then you'll find all the information there.
Okay.
Mike.
Adding that to my list of travel things
Awesome. I would love to have you.
when I
Absolutely.
when I have the budget.
Mhm.
I spelled
Now,
that right. Okay.
and Melissa, you said Mike's there this Saturday, is that right?
The
Who, how much
13th.
Saturday?
The
Yes,
13th.
Yeah.
Okay.
from
Okay.
11 to 1. So
Mhm.
if you're not, it is not a mistake. We will open earlier for Mike's event. Um, so a talk and author meet and greet. He will scribble in books for you,
Yep.
personalized. So any of our friends that are not local, like our friend Melanie down in Savannah, that one, I swear, Melanie, one of these days I'll get down there. Um, shoot me a message if you want, to get a copy. We can run it over the phone. I'll have Mike sign it. We'll ship it to you. Um, and then your podcast, Connecting the
Mhm.
Universe, they can find that. I see it show up live on Facebook, but I'm assuming that's available everywhere, right? Apple and
Yeah, yeah. I always post those links on Facebook whenever we have a show drop. But you can find that Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple. I mean, basically any of your favorite podcast platforms, Spreaker, all of those. Yeah.
And of course, they can go to your Facebook page, see all the fun things.
Yeah.
You do a morning mugs kind of
Mhm.
weekly. It's
Yeah,
fun.
I do my morning mug. I do, like, a little daily post, but then I have a morning mug video that I will put together probably about once a week, and that's on my because I have the membership sites like Patreon. I have the Connected Universe portal and those sorts of things. And then there's the YouTube channel. So that's where I run the podcasts. I do a live stream like this live, and then I'll post some other videos and things like that out there as well.
So, friends, let's support Mike. Follow his things, ask him questions, support his lives. They're very interesting. Like I said, the last
I
Uh-oh.
lost
Now
them. Are you
now
Oh,
Melissa's
where did
locking up.
Yeah.
Uh,
Hello, Melissa.
come back to us? I don't know where I went. I was
yeah,
like, can they see
you
me?
just
I
went
was
out
like
into
trying
the
to sit
ether
really still.
somewhere,
Like, I don't
yeah.
know if they can still see me. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I believe she was talking about all the things that you have coming up, and that a lot of us should attend. Mike, you are a very interesting individual. I've never really gotten to sit and talk to you in great depth because I'm always running.
Right.
And I find everything so fascinating. And I'm recommending to everyone out there that's been on this show to go to his website, take a look at all the places he's going to be and the talks that he offers. I'm actually looking it up on Goddess Elite and hoping I can attend that. And I'm going to talk to Greg about the Egypt trip.
I
That
was going to
sounds
be around.
amazing.
I would
I
love
will
to
be
have
back in the mountains
you and Greg
again.
out at
So,
Egypt. Yeah.
Oh my God, that would be so fun.
yeah,
So,
Yeah.
but I don't know if Melissa's going to make it back or not.
Mm.
And I don't know how to
I don't
shut
know that
this
we can.
down.
We're all held hostage until Melissa
We
comes back.
are.
Yeah, 'cause
We'll
she's the
get
host.
another hour of you. Yay.
Yeah, she's the host, she has to shut it down.
Yeah, there's a way that she does the outro and everything like that.
Mhm.
Like I know we could all leave, but I don't know if it just kind of hangs there or not.
Everybody else
I'm going to
seems to be
give her
hanging
a
out.
quick
Yeah.
call, put you guys on mute. Okay. Oh,
Nope.
there
There
she
she
is.
is.
All right, we got
Well,
lost without you.
Yeah.
We need you,
it
Melissa.
wasn't my fault this time. You did it.
I was like, don't make me connect to my iPhone, dang it. Was just in the process of doing that when my laptop was like, sorry, I didn't mean it. Forgot what I was saying.
Well,
Though
you
I
were
want
talking about all of the events that he has going on. I kind of wrapped that up a little bit with going to his website.
Mhm.
And then I was like, I don't know how to shut this down.
We'll just sit here and like we're held hostage till we know what to do.
I was kind of hoping and assuming, and I'm like, if I can't reconnect, I hope since I'm the host that it just kind of threw everybody out. Now I know that is not the case.
No.
Learning new streaming software. So, though I wanted to throw out quickly to our friends and audience, we have been calling our live Woo Woo Wednesday as fun for years since like Marianne and I started doing this way back the younger years, right? Kathy's finally talking me into turning it into like an actual podcast now that there's much easier editing capability. However, Woo Woo Wednesday is already claimed by somebody. So we need a name. And Kayla and I were we're like, woo gone wild. And I'm like, that could imply something.
We went down a serious rabbit hole. Like we were just like we bullshit about doing other things, like other real things, especially since I was gone for a week. And then here we are having this text conversation of like ridiculous names because somebody else has Woo Woo Wednesday, so we can't technically use it. So
woo uncensored, and I'm like anything other than going through this metaphysical anatomy book because I'm tired of that book talking so much shit to me about why certain things are flaring up in the body because you're like, oh, you have trust issues. I'm like, you know what? That's enough of you today. I will come back to you later.
Oh, and then you kindly sent it to me to make sure I got traumatized also. Thank you, because that's what friends do.
It's really good, and it's a tone.
I'm suffering, so should you.
And I don't want it, Melissa. I have enough of my own trauma. Don't pass it along to me.
So feel free to email, text, chat, however you watch, however you listen, names. because who knows what we might end up with when I go back and start editing and throwing up as a podcast.
Right.
But
Yes,
thank
we
you,
can
Mike, for
Melanie, we
joining.
can still call it Woo Woo Wednesday
Thank you.
privately here
Yeah.
once we're in here, right? We just can't put it out there as
Yeah,
our
can't do
intro
that.
and the page name and all that stuff. So we need help with names, appropriate names.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's see if we can. Maybe we'll give a free book, one of Mike's books to them.
There you
They
go.
come up with a great
Yeah.
name.
Just-
We'll have
I
you
can-
sign it. We'll buy it from you, Mike, and that'll be a prize.
There we go. We could do that. Yeah. Prize for the alternative to Woo Woo Wednesday. I do like Woo Woo Wednesday. That's pretty cool.
I do too. Yeah.
Yeah, but Kathy's like, womp womp. Somebody's got it.
How about Woo Woo Better Than You Wednesday?
Yes, Wednesday, right?
This would be a long one to type, but
You could always add one word. Woo woo work. Woo woo work Wednesday. That's a lot. Woo woo
Yeah,
work.
We'll
we'll
keep
work
hashing
on
it
it.
out.
We should set
Melanie,
Mike free. He's good.
I know.
Melanie is hoping we can bring Mike back, and as long as we didn't scare him too bad, I'm sure.
Oh, guys are fantastic. I'd be happy to come back anytime.
It'll give us time to come up with way more questions because I always have questions. I just did not yet because I haven't met you.
I actually just found the whole conversation so fascinating. I didn't have questions because I was absorbing.
And then,
Thank you, Kathy.
Mike, you also do paranormal, so this is a great book.
Yeah, Walk in the
that-
Shadows.
Normal. I still have all my tabs in it from when you came and spoke with the Marianne book group. But if you've got questions and theories about shadow people, this is a great book
Thank you.
to look at. So we can even talk paranormal, not just portals and aliens and Stargates. So it'll just
Cover
be
it all. Yeah.
Mike, you have a much more busy schedule than we do. So we will.
You give
like
us
whenever-
your open Wednesdays, we'll figure it out.
Sounds good.
But thanks for joining. I hope
Thank you.
everybody has a great day, great rest of the week. If you're in Ohio, enjoy the sunshine while we have it, because that's a rarity going on out there.
Same here.
Yeah. So we hope to see you guys next week at 10 a.m. And we'll see you guys then. Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody. Have a good week.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. It was nice meeting you.
Thank you. Thank you.